Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Joey, and UFC 261 is finally upon us. It's this Saturday, April 24th, and I cannot wait for this card. There is 3 title fights on this card, the main event being Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2, co-main event being Weili Zhang defending her belt against Rose Namajunas, and then you also have Valentina Shevchenko defending her women's flyweight belt against Jessica Andrade. I cannot wait for this fight. The whole main card is amazing, but this video is going to be my prediction video for Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2. And this is a fight that wasn't really anticipated for this year. I mean, Jorge Masvidal, to earn a title shot against Kamaru Usman, got 50-45 by Kamaru Usman. So since win is a win over Nate Diaz worthy of 2 title shots, because he stepped in on short notice and got the UFC 251 title shot. Now he's getting this other title shot without a win since that fight. But as much as I can down the fight and say, Jorge Masvidal shouldn't got the title shot, the UFC kind of, put this fight together very quickly, so it doesn't really hold up the division all that much. They announced this maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's happening, early or late April. Kamaru Usman just fought in February, so he's on a quick turnaround. So it's not really holding up the division. Kamaru Usman probably wasn't going to fight until the fall, winter anyway. So even after this fight between the two, the division isn't really held up. But there would have been some more, deserving guys. I really want to see the Colby Covington rematch. I would love to see him against Kamaru Usman versus Wonder Boy. I would have loved to see Leon Edwards fights. I know, none of those guys were like concrete. Obviously Leon Edwards hasn't fought in forever. Then he fought and had the no contest against Bilal Muhammad. Colby Covington's only gotten 1 win since his loss to Kamaru Usman against Tyron Woodley, so he needs to win more. But I would have, if I could handpick the opponent, I probably would have picked Colby, just because that first fight between Colby and Usman was absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite fights of the year. Absolutely loved it. It was super competitive. And I think, if you look at all the guys within the welterweight division, Colby probably has the best chance of dethroning Kamaru Usman. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it, but I think he has the best chance. But, this way, with the fights coming up so soon, they announced it only a couple weeks ago, it's not like anybody's really getting passed up. So, we get to see the division play out a little more. And who knows who might be fighting for the title at the end of this year. Kamaru Usman's coming off that absolute spectacular performance against Gilbert Burns, rocked early in the first round, but somehow recovers and ends up beating Gilbert Burns. What an amazing performance. I know in the build-up to this fight and a lot of people's breakdowns and analysis for this main event, the main thing that they keep driving home is Jorge Masvidal took the UFC 251 fight against Kamaru Usman on short notice. But that's not entirely true. I mean, there was negotiating going on, a month out. Jorge Masvidal was training. Even Dustin Poirier, who trains with Masvidal, was saying that he was training. So I don't really like that narrative, because, there's evidence to prove that Masvidal was training for that fight. Maybe it wasn't signed. Maybe Usman was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns, but Masvidal was training, and a lot of people were speculating, if there was a pull-out, that maybe Masvidal could step in. But I think with that narrative, it's the built-in excuse for Masvidal. Okay, he took the Kamaru Usman fight on short notice, give him a rematch. I think really the reason that the UFC is giving him this title shot right now is because the UFC, this will be the first fight card with fans back. They sold out an arena in Florida. And when you have an arena to sell out, which they haven't had to do for over a year now, you have to have a very high quality fight. And Jorge Masvidal, ever since that Ben Askren KO, that flying knee KO, his name is blown up, and he's garnered a lot of attention, garnered a lot of fans. He's been around for a while, but ever since that Ben Askren KO, his name has just blown up. And they put him on the card to garner, people to want to come to the event, buy tickets, sell out 20,000. I think it's 20,000 seats, and that's why Jorge Masvidal got this fight. In all honesty, otherwise, I don't think this would have happened. As far as the fight goes, so the first fight, Obviously, we all know how it went down. Masvidal came out in the first round, super aggressive, got taken down. Rest of the fight was the same. He was taken down, controlled on the ground, or pushed up against the fence and controlled against the fence, foot stomped into oblivion. Um, and I really, it's hard for me to say, for a guy in Masvidal, and I've always been a big believer in Masvidal before his name blew up. I picked him to beat Darren Till. I picked him to beat Ben Askren. I've always been a big fan of him. I actually think years ago when he fought Damian Maia, it was like a number one contender fight for the welterweight division when Tyron Woodley was the welterweight champion. And I thought if Masvidal could get by Damian Maia, which he inevitably lost by split decision, I thought he had a good chance of beating Tyron Woodley for the belt. And this was when Woodley looked absolutely like a world beater, obviously not what he was today. But as high as I am on Masvidal, and I know he's super dangerous, super deadly, I just don't know, since last July, not even a year, and he hasn't had any fights in between. He hasn't built himself back up. One, two, three fights in a row to get back to the title. It would have been nice. Look what Robert Whittaker did. He lost his belt, and I know that's a different situation, but he lost his belt. He won 3 fights. He built himself back, and now he should be getting the next title shot against Israel Adesanya, which I've just made a video about. Go check that out. Masvidal lost to Usman 50-45, dominated it in every round, and he hasn't done anything since. So I don't like that. And Masvidal is 36 years old. At this point, at what point is it okay? He's garnered all the skills that he can, and if what wasn't good enough in the first fight, is it not going to be good enough in the second fight? Most likely. And I think what also cements that theory home is Kamaru Usman is still improving. He looked great against Burns. Every fight out, he looks better and better and better. And I've been a believer in Kamaru Usman for a long time. I thought he was going to beat Woodley when at that time nobody really thought that he was going to beat Woodley. And Usman is just a world-class grappler, world-class wrestler. Has decent striking. I mean, it's not great. But also, he has amazing stamina. He's not going to get tired. He's been in countless 5-round fights. The Colby Covington fight, I think he stopped him in the 5th round. And that fight was an absolute war from start to finish, and he barely got tired. Meanwhile, you have a guy in Jorge Masvidal where I'm not saying at all that Nate Diaz would have came back in that BMF fight from a year and a half ago. But Masvidal was starting to fade in that 3rd round. Without a doubt, you could see him getting tired. And if he's getting tired fighting Nate Diaz, imagine how tired he's going to get fighting Kamaru Usman. And also, when you have a guy in Kamaru Usman who is so wrestling heavy, making guys work, Masvidal is going to get tired very, very quickly. I know, Masvidal also used the weight cut as an excuse, because he wasn't ready. He was ballooned up. And maybe that's a factor. I don't know. We will see. I think some people might pick Masvidal. I think Usman, obviously, to get more into a direct breakdown of the fight, Usman has to do exactly what he did in the first fight. He has to go out there, take him down early, wear him down, rest of the fight, either take him down or clinch him up against the cage, dirty boxings, foot stomps, all that type of stuff. And throughout Kamaru Usman's career, he shows a very high fight IQ. He goes out there, and sometimes he finishes fights, but he does what needs to be done. He goes out there against Gilbert Burns, who we know Gilbert Burns is a world-class jiu-jitsu guy, great submissions. Usman goes out there and says, you know what, I'm going to strike with him. I'm not going to take him down. I don't want to risk getting caught in a submission. And that's how he fought. When he fought Jorge Masvidal the first time, just followed the game plan that I just laid out to a T, exactly. And also, here's another factor I wanted to mention. A lot of people, the narrative is Jorge Masvidal took it on a short notice, to UFC 251, Fight Island, short notice. But they're forgetting Kamaru Usman had a fight lined up, but he took Jorge Masvidal on short notice. He was training for Gilbert Burns, who's a completely different opponent. You have a guy who's a jiu-jitsu guy, has some decent striking as well, but not the level of Jorge Masvidal. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks out or 1 week out, whatever it was, I don't even remember at this point, they're subbing in Jorge Masvidal, who is not a ground guy at all, who is this, very powerful, striker, knockout artist, knocked out Darren Till, knocked out Ben Askren in absolute brutal fashion. But literally, people don't take that into account. They say, oh, well, Masvidal took it on short notice. Well, Kamaru Usman took it on short notice too, and Kamaru Usman's getting better with every single fight. I just, could Masvidal comes out and throws everything heavy, and he has some nasty striking. He has dynamic striking. We've seen with the flying knees. He has great boxing, MMA boxing that is, and he's looked excellent against a lot of opponents. He was able to knock Darren Till out, who's a great striker. I think Masvidal's been criminally underrated for his entire career, but I just don't think Kamaru Usman's going to allow that to happen. Kamaru Usman is going to plot right out in that fight. The referee's going to say, all right, you ready? You ready? Let's go. Kamaru Usman is going to plot out there and take Masvidal right down or clinch up with him, work on him, wear him down. And I just don't think Masvidal can keep that type of pace. I mean, we've seen he can't. There's no way, stamina for stamina, that Masvidal can keep up with Usman. He's going to wear down. He's going to, get bullied up against the cage. In the first fight, I don't remember once, a lot of the times when you see guys, in the clinch battle up against the cage, you'll see him switch position. One guy will be on the back, got his back against the cage, then he'll force his way out and push the other guy with his back against the cage, and they'll kind of trade spots. In that first fight, Usman had his way with him, just pushed him up against the cage. And I think you will see a lot of the same in this second fight. I'm excited to kind of put this Masvidal, storyline to bed because, it was quote unquote short notice the first time around. So this second time, maybe we can get a concrete answer. If Usman's able to beat him again, then, we don't have to hear any of these, excuses. And as much as I like Masvidal, I actually have his bobblehead sitting behind me here, his autographed bobblehead. As much as I like him, I don't even want him to win the fight. And I'm not, when I started this YouTube channel, I don't want to pick, I'm only picking who I think is going to win. I'm not going to try to pick a guy just because I like him. But I don't even think I personally want Masvidal to win. Because tell me if Masvidal doesn't somehow win this fight, we're just going to see an absolute calamity at welterweight. He's going to be saying he wants to fight Conor McGregor coming off a loss to Dustin Poirier. He'll say he wants to fight Nate Diaz for the welterweight belt, and it would just be an absolute disaster. Let's say he comes out and catches Kamaru Usman with a left hand. He's going to be begging for all sorts of unjustified, quote-unquote, money fights, and the division is just going to be an absolute shambles. I like fights based on merit. This fight is a little bit of a gray area. I already laid out the reasons why I don't like it. But it's okay because it's happening so soon. It's not really holding up the division. But hopefully after this, we get past this Usman Masvidal chapter. We can move on, and hopefully some of these guys at welterweight really start fighting each other. We got Wonderboy versus Gilbert Burns coming up at UFC 264. Hopefully somebody gets Colby a fight. You got Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz coming up May 15th. Maybe if Leon Edwards wins that fight, which I suspect he will, we could match him up with Colby over the summer, and the winner of that fight could fight Usman in the winter. But, it's hard right now. You got a lot of great contenders at welterweight, and it seems like none of those guys want to fight each other. It just doesn't seem like it's happening. So anyway, final prediction, concrete prediction from me. I think Kamaru Usman is going to win by decision, similar to the first fight. I just think Jorge Masvidal is so durable. I just don't know if Usman's going to be able to finish him. He would have to maybe TKO him, ground and pound. I just don't see that happening. But with Masvidal's holes in his game as far as his takedown defense, inability to get off the fence, inability to get his back off the fence, and also he's at a size disadvantage. He was, for the majority of his career, he was fighting at lightweight, 155. Now he moved up to 170 a while ago. And I mean, Kamaru Usman is one of the bigger welterweights. So he gives up the size advantage. I just really don't think, unless he gets a very early KO, which is possible, which is very possible. I can't base my prediction on maybe he might land a big shot early in the first round. That could always happen. But in this fight, I just got to go, you look at all the factors, all the avenues to victory, and I'm going to go with Kamaru Usman by decision. Hopefully after this fight, fall, winter time, we get to see a legit number one contender versus Kamaru Usman. We can put this Jorge Masvidal out of bed. He can go after some money fights. Maybe he can fight Conor McGregor. Maybe he can fight Nate Diaz again. But that's my final prediction. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen in this main event, because I'm curious who's picking Masvidal. I think some people will be picking Masvidal in this fight, and why. I will also be doing prediction videos for the rest of the main card. Weili Zhang versus Rose Namajunas, which is my most anticipated fight on the entire card. You have Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade in the flyweight belt, and you got a bunch more great fights on the main card. I think you got Weidman versus Uriah Hall as well. So I'll be putting out prediction videos for those. I'm not sure how I'll structure them, but that will be coming soon. If you guys enjoy this content, make sure you subscribe. If you like this video, make sure to like the video. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care of yourself.